Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushai, Bahasham, Rakahakwadash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who rule and teach well. In peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Ra'aya with another video, and I'm going to start it off in Amos chapter 8, verses 11 to 13. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord Yahweh, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor a thirst for water, though food shortages, famines, where there's going to be no food or water out here are coming, but of hearing the words of Yahweh, the famine of the word, where the men of the Lord are no longer going to be on the highways and byways preaching this word or putting up video epistles like this. And in this video, I'm going to go into two articles to show that with each passing day, we're getting closer and closer to the famine of the word. And the first article is on WashingtonExaminer.com titled, Michigan Can Now Censor You If You Hurt Someone's Feelings. And the second is on RT.com. The UN, or United Nations, releases online hate speech guide. So from the United States of America to the United Nations, there's a global effort to combat so-called hate speech, which we really know is to come against the words of Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai through the prophets, because by the prophets, chiefly through GMS or Great Millstone, as well as the brothers coming in the spirit of GMS, out there on the highways and byways preaching this word, as well as putting up video epistles like this, we're pushing out the vibration of Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai, waking up the elect of the nation of Israel and bringing about these prophecies and the end of the rulership of these heathen nations, chiefly the biblical Edomites, known as these so-called white people today, these Americans, Europeans, etc., etc. As it says in Matthew chapter 24, verse 14, and this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, which it has, mainly through the unicorn or the internet, and then shall the end come. Point blank period. Through that internet, the words of Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai have easily gotten from one end of the earth unto the other, waking up the elect of the nation of Israel, because again, chiefly through GMS, we've seen brothers wake up from the four corners of the earth. You got brothers in Canada, of course in the United States of America or Babylon. You've got brothers in Mexico, Central and South America, the UK, Europe, the Philippines, Japan, etc., etc. These prophecies are coming to pass right before our very eyes. And not only can the men of the Lord and the elect of the nation of Israel see it, but also, the elites of these Edomites can see it as well. And they're scrambling to do whatever they can to avert biblical prophecy from coming to its fulfillment, because they know that once the prophets of Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai are out preaching and Israel starts calling upon the name of their power again, whatever heathen nation that's ruling at that time is going to be taken out of power. And they know that they're the biblical Edomites and that this is their last go around to rule. And that when they are taken out of power, they're going to go into 1,000 years of hardcore bondage and slavery before they're permanently culled from this planet with fire. So again, they're about to pull out all the stops, to demonize the men of the Lord and demonize this word and get the men of the Lord off the highways and byways, and especially get this word off the internet by labeling it as so-called hate speech and discrimination. But let's get into these articles. And again, the first one is on the WashingtonExaminer.com, and it's titled, Michigan Can Now Censor You If Ye Hurt Someone's Feelings. And the words of Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai hurts everybody's feelings that isn't living after the laws, statutes, and commandments, because this entire planet and the ways of these people that's chiefly been pushed by these Edomites is clean contrary to the laws, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. And as it says in, I believe in Hebrews, that this word is sharper than any two-edged sword, cutting, dividing asunder to the, the spirit. When people hear this word and hear that they've been living a wicked lifestyle, especially our people, it cuts them to the bone, which is why they get angry and make threats against the prophets. And if they could, like their forefathers and foremothers in the past did, put the prophets to death. And it's no different for these other people out here, and especially these elites, because they know the scriptures and again know that when the prophets are out prophesying and Israel's waking up, that whatever heathen nation that's ruling is going to be taken out of power and punished for afflicting the children of Israel. Michigan's Democratic House passed legislation on Tuesday that enables attorneys to shut down hate speech. The new House bill 4474 is a vague and unconstitutional censorship law that determines feeling threatened as reasonable grounds to prosecute offenders. The punishment for making someone feel threatened, and not actually laying hands on somebody, in Michigan is 5 years in jail and a $10,000 fine. And so it's getting much more serious out here than just striking brothers' pages and taking their videos off the internet. Hey, as this demonization campaign against the truth and the men of the Lord ramps up, even more of these bills threatening jail time and massive fines are going to come. Remember what it said in Revelation chapter 2, verse 10. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer, for the devil, that deceiver, Esau, Edom, specifically their elites, shall cast some of you into prison that ye may be tried. An alternate sentence proposes community service in order to enhance the offender's understanding of the impact of the offense upon the victim and wider community. Re-education. Hey, you can't be talking about the alphabet people like that. We're going to need you to go to sensitivity classes. And the class is going to be taught by a damn Decepticon, a transformer. The problematic language about feelings can be found in the bill's definition of intimidation as willful course of conduct involving repeated or continuing harassment of another individual that would cause a reasonable individual to feel terrorized, frightened, intimidated, threatened, harassed, or molested, and that actually causes the victims to feel terrorized, frightened, or threatened. And even before it talks of all these bills, like I said earlier, people out there, when they hear us prophesying, especially our people, are cut to the spirit by this word. And I remember once we got on this one Israelite woman, a Judite woman or a so-called black woman, and she called the cops on us. So this is just going to empower these demons out here, hey, these haters of righteousness, when more laws like this get passed, which actually have harsh penalties behind them, it's going to embolden them to come after the men of the Lord that much more, to try to help this devil in hampering this word. Any kind of discrimination against a minority or particular group of people is unacceptable and should be taken seriously. And hey, we preach against the alphabet people, and we preach against these Edomites or these so-called white people. Michigan's new bill, which prosecutes based on feelings, does not take it seriously. Someone's subjective feelings, or even a lie about his or her subjective feelings, could land somebody jail time and ruin a life. Hate speech accusations are designed with one outcome in mind: censorship, a point blank period. Hate speech is usually not hateful speech. What often constitutes hate speech is any language that opposes popular narrative, which again, The ways and the words of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai are completely contrary to this Western mindset, this Babylonian mindset that these Edomites push. This label is causing damage to our nation. We find frequent examples of its effects and how it muffles free speech on college campuses. That's it with this article. But hey, you see they're making major moves in the United States of America. But now let's go to the next article showing that the UN, or the United Nations, is working towards the same goal. So again, this is a global agenda. Remember, and this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. And again, the title of this article on RT.com is UN Releases Online Hate Speech Guide. The body is called for social media users to report purveyors of harmful content. Like I said earlier, you got brothers in Canada, you got brothers in the UK, you got brothers in Europe, in Finland, you name it. The United Nations has taken to Twitter, well, be more specific than just Europe. Got brothers in Italy, Germany, Holland. The United Nations has taken to Twitter in a new campaign to battle speech that it finds objectionable, urging social media users to push back against hateful content and report offenders to the police and other authorities in extreme cases. Making everybody a rat, a goddamn snitch out here. And to anybody that's read that book 1984, hey, this is how that society was designed. Everybody had to toe the party line, and everybody else was a damn snitch. There was one guy who, for most of the book, he praised the party in 1984 that was in power, and his son was hardcore brainwashed into believing the party line, and he was a part of the Boy Scouts and everything. And the dad said he didn't even really say anything wrong against the party, but he said something that was offensive to the son, and the son reported it to the authorities, and they threw his ass in an internment camp. That's exactly what they want. And you say any little thing that bucks up against the official narrative, and your ass is off to a gulag. And how much more us, who prophesy and preach things completely contrary to this society. We preach the destruction and the downfall of this society. Hate speech can take many different forms, the UN said on Sunday, but no matter what it looks like, hate speech has real consequences. The tweet linked to a UN guide on tackling offensive speech. The organization, however, didn't spell out what constitutes hate speech. Just like the previous article, things are very vague and open to much interpretation. So, there's a bunch of loopholes and technicalities that can get people caught up for any little thing. It can sometimes be hard to assess when a comment is meant as hate speech, especially when expressed in the virtual world, the tutorial said. It can also feel overwhelming to try to deal with obviously hateful content. The UN has previously defined hate speech as offensive discourse targeting a group or an individual based on inherent characteristics such as race, being an Edomite who's just a clean leper, religion, Christianity's bullshit, Islam's bullshit, or gender. Hey, the ABCDEFG people, nothing more needs to be said, and that may threaten social peace. Earlier this month, it declared June 18th as the International Day for Countering Hate Speech. And what is June also the month of? The PRIDE month. We are far from powerless in the face of hate speech, UN Secretary General Antonio Gutierrez said. We can and must raise awareness about its dangers and work to prevent and end it in all its forms. The campaign comes amid a global crackdown on hate speech. For example, legislation in Ireland could reportedly allow for the jailing of citizens who possess material that criticizes gender identity. In the U.S., Michigan lawmakers which we just read about, have approved legislation that would enable prosecutors to criminally charge people who make others feel threatened based on their sexual orientation or gender identity. The UN urged social media users to refrain from posting or forwarding any hateful content themselves and to speak out when other people are targeted by such messaging. The tutorial called for refuting misinformation and offensive content to make sure hate is not the dominant narrative, as well as reporting hateful commentators to social media platforms. For more serious cases which may constitute incitement to violence, harassment, and or threats prohibited by law, notify organizations fighting hate speech and or file a complaint with police or the public prosecutor, the UN said. Some countries have online tools to make reporting hate speech easier. Such countries as Sweden, Denmark, and Belgium have online reporting systems for hate speech. In Sweden, for instance, mean statements about ethnic group or a group of people alluding to race, skin tone, ethnic background, belief, or sexual orientation can constitute a criminal offense, according to a government-funded group, Nachhalschapen, well, however you say that. But again, as we can clearly see, there's a global effort to combat so-called hate speech, which is really to combat the words of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai in the scriptures through the prophets. Now let's get back into these precepts. This is Isaiah chapter 29. I'm going to start at verse 18. And in that day, which we're living in these days and times right now, the last seconds of the last days before the end of this current age of the rulership of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites, before the ushering in of the kingdom of heaven, the eternal kingdom, under the true children of Israel, known as the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans today. And in that day shall the deaf hear the words of the book, and the eyes of the blind shall see out of obscurity and out of darkness, the spiritual eyes and ears of the elect of the nation of Israel being opened and gaining the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding through the scriptures, correctly broken down by the prophets of the Most High, the men of the Lord, again, chiefly through GMS or Great Millstone, as well as the brothers coming in the spirit of GMS, out on the highways and byways preaching this word, as well as posting these video epistles on the Unicorn, online, the internet. The meek also shall increase their joy in Yahweh, and the poor among men shall rejoice in the Holy One of Israel, because the lowest of the low of society, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, who have always been looked at as the scum, niggers, spics, tontos, thugs, whores, every epithet and negative thing under the sun, and the elect of those people, of the children of Israel, waking up and seeing that, hey, this isn't just the way life is. We're not going to be on bottom forever. This was punishment from our power for our disobedience. But as we come back to our power comes back to us and will fight for us and take down our enemies and set us up in the kingdom of heaven, where we shall rule over them and get revenge on them. Verse 20, for the terrible one is brought to naught, the terrible one being the wicked, the Edomites, beginning with their elites, being spiritually brought to naught right now by the men of the Lord, prophesying through the scriptures and showing that you Edomite, you so-called white people, are the Edomites and the wicked of the Bible, and that there is a judgment coming to you for afflicting the children of Israel and for all the wickedness you've committed on this planet in destroying it. And then the physical action comes when Yahushai, the Son of the Most High, is going to make his second coming to save his elect and make a war against you Edomites personally, to put that final nail in the coffin of your rulership and the rulership of these other heathens underneath you. And the scorner is consumed, and all that watch for iniquity are cut off. Hey, these heathens, as well as the wicked of our people, who are going to use these different legislations coming out, hey, to rat on the men of the Lord and call the authorities on them, to scorn and watch for so-called iniquity and get us caught up and thrown into these prisons. Hey, to stifle the word, to get these fines slapped on brothers. Verse 21, that make a man an offender for a word. offending someone's feelings, labeling it as hate speech, and it comes with penalties, again jail time or fines, and lay a snare for him that reproveth in the gate, all this legislation, and turn aside the just for a thing of naught. Point blank period. Like I've been saying throughout the video, the power of this word being preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations is bringing about the end of this Edomite system. We didn't have to pick up guns or march on the streets to do so. It was simply through the will and spirit of Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai to bring the terrible one to naught. So in turn, that devil's about to come down in great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. As it says in Revelation chapter 12, verse 12, therefore rejoice ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea. For the devil, Esau, Edom, again beginning with their elites, such as the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the DuPonts, the Gettys, the Aldriches, the Carnegies, is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. The prophets are out prophesying, and Israel is waking up, and they know that their time of rulership is almost up. So they're coming with this legislation to demonize the word, get the men of the Lord off the highways and byways. And then this devil is going to come with that brute force to put as many Israelites, to try to put as many of the elect especially, to death as he can, to try to avert prophecy. But there is no averting prophecy. As it says in Isaiah 55, verse 11, so shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please. Well, you devils are going to get your hands on some of the elect. Ultimately, you're going to be taken out of power, and you're going into hardcore bondage and slavery. And then after that first 1,000 years of your blood, sweat, and tears building up the kingdom of heaven, your entire nation is going to be cold from the face of the earth by fire. And that's all she wrote. So that's it with this video. And with this video, I hope you sincere Akim and Akwath were edified. Just keep strong, as we can clearly see we're almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And I almost forgot to finish out in that Amos chapter 8, verses 12 to 13. Also, to you sincere Akim and Akwath, hey, drink from these rivers of living waters while you still can, so you can build up as much knowledge, wisdom, and understanding as you can before this spigot is cut off, and whatever you receive during this time of liberty is going to get you through Jacob's trouble. Because for the majority of our people, the wicked of our people, who spent this time of liberty to freely get the word, scoffed at it, and cast it behind their back, hey, they're not going to have any protection in that day, and they're going to be looking for answers, running around like chickens with their heads cut off, and they're going to take whatever horrific judgment Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai has for them. This is back in Amos chapter 8, verse 12. And they shall wander from sea to sea, and from the north even to the east. They shall run to and fro to seek the word of Yahweh, and shall not find it. And when this famine of the word truly hits, hey, you won't get it if you're not of that elect number. In that day shall the fair virgins and young men faint for thirst, spiritual thirst. Hey, they're going to be spiritually dehydrated out here when all these calamities of Jacob's trouble are taking place, and they can't find any answers or any solutions. And the Most High is going to put it on your spirit to remember those times you heard the words of the prophets and you scoffed at it because you had something so-called better to do. As it says in 2 Esdras chapter 9, and then shall they know it after death by pain. So again, I hope this video was edifying to you sincere Akim and Akwath out there. And I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharala, and until next time, Shalom.